Hello everyone! How are you all doing? Welcome to the stream for today. Let's see who's here. Let's just scroll up real quick and see who came in. Welcome Cheryl. Hey Arlie. Thanks for being here, guys. Small, of course, Lauren Wilson. Let's see, where are my other members at? Ocean Discovery. I think, did I miss anyone? I think that's good. Yeah. We'll get started in just a few minutes. We always turn on the stream a little bit early just so that way we have time to do announcements and say hi to everyone. As you can tell, I am in this pretty busy area of Seoul. I don't know if you guys have ever visited Myeongdong before. It's just, you know, one of the most popular places. Don't ask why nobody is wearing masks. It's an old, it's an older photo. It's, everyone's standing really still, so there's no need for masks today. But that's not why we're here. No, I was given a, let's see if I can, this crazy scientist guy came up to me today and asked me if I wanted to be part of an experiment. And he said that using this special device that looks like a light controller, but it's actually a time machine. I could use it to travel to whatever decade or whatever year in Korean history that I want. Isn't that cool? And he said he'd meet me here, but I got here and all I found was the device. So I guess we're on our own, guys. So I don't know, where do you want to go to? Oh, we could go back to the late 1800s during the end of the Joseon dynasty. That might be cool. Or we can go even farther back. We can go back to when King Sejong invented Hangul, and we could see how he did it. I don't know, guys. What do you think? When should we go to? I got it. I know just where we should go. Hold on, guys. I don't know if this is going to be instantaneous or if it's going to take a few seconds. Let me just go over here for a second. 3, 2, 1. That was very anticlimactic. I guess we're here. Guys, I wasn't really sure where we should go, but I picked a location that I think maybe a lot of you will be familiar with, and that is just general Korea during Korean historical dramas. So we have traveled back in time to kind of a random area when Korean dramas took place, and that's somewhere between usually the 1500s to the 1800s. I won't tell you exactly when because there are lots of different dramas that take place during different times. So just use your imagination. Just pretend that we're in that time. Yes. So I guess this device works. I hope it'll be able to take us back home when we're done, but we can leave that for after the lesson today. For today's lesson, we do have a few quick announcements before we get started. First of all, if you are a Patreon member, make sure to download the worksheet for today's live stream. Now, with most worksheets, you can actually do them before the live stream starts or after the live stream, but not today's worksheet. Today's worksheet is very unique. In fact, it's not even very complicated. There are only 8, you can see 8 practice questions that you can translate, but I guarantee you, you will not be able to do these correctly until after we've finished the live stream for today. So get the worksheet if you're a Patreon member, but save it for after the lesson because, like I said, there will probably be words on here you don't know how to translate or maybe grammar expressions. You can give it a try if you really want, but you'll definitely get more out of it after today's lesson's over. Okay. And if you are a Patreon member after the live stream, you can also check out Patreon to get the outline of everything that we're doing today. Today's outline is actually 2 pages long. It's much longer than usual. You can see it's very long for today. We have a lot of stuff to cover because there is actually so much material we could possibly cover today, and I have done my best job to condense it, but still it's a lot. And other quick announcements. If you're interested in supporting my channel, you can you can do it through donations, you can do it through just subscribing to my channel, watching my videos. There's also some merchandise available. You can see one of my shirts pinned to the chat right now. If you're interested in doing tutoring, you can send me a message or ask on Discord about that. And also, if you are a YouTube member, remember that if you are a YouTube member, remember that you can watch the abridged versions of these live streams the same night after the live stream. So tonight, after this live stream's over, if you want to watch it again, but you don't want to spend another an hour and a half to watch it, you can get the abridged version to watch, which will be like, I don't know, 10 to 20 minutes. And that'll be available tonight on the YouTube channel for members only. Everyone else can watch it around Wednesday later in the week. Okay. So now my mouth is already tired from talking. Let me just say hi to a few more people who've come in the chat. We will get started right at 2 o'clock with our lesson. We still have about 9 minutes left. Just go back to the Jurassic period. Yes, that would be a terrible, terrible idea. I am not prepared to fight off any dinosaurs today. Hey, Chris White, welcome. Let's see, who else is here? Hey, Nika. Okay. Yes, so, the prerequisite... Mowage, the prerequisites for today. Now, every stream has prerequisites, things that you need to know before you can follow along. Today's lesson doesn't really have any prerequisites. There are going to be things today for all levels, whether you're a beginner, an intermediate, or an advanced learner. Now, I will say this though, the more you know, the more you'll get out of today's lesson. But if you're still a complete beginner who only knows Hangul, you'll still get some words and phrases out of today's lesson that you can use. But if you are advanced, you'll probably understand really well exactly how to use everything we're going to talk about today and when and where to use it. So just keep that in mind. There are no prerequisites, but the more you know, the better. Okay. Yes, I'm just waiting now until 2 o'clock. I don't want to start early. Just letting people come in while we get started. What is the 1500s to 1800s period called in Korea? Well, there isn't really a name for it. We're going to be talking, though, about that, like what time period we're going to be using today. But I'll wait for the lesson for that sort of stuff. Checking here, making sure nothing else to do. Okay, yeah, we've done all the announcements now, so we're good. Just waiting for more people to come in before we start at 2 o'clock. Ocean Discovery. 저는 고대 국어를 공부할 수 있도록 여기에 왔어요. Okay. We beginners will be up. Yes, although beginners probably won't be able to use as much grammar, but you'll see. You know, it's whatever. Are there times when one would want to use ancient Korean phrases? Yes, sure. Why not? People use them all the time today, like as references to Korean dramas or references to older Korean. So you might be joking with your friends. Like we do it in English too. Sometimes you're like, you know, how art thee? We might like make a joke using random language. So in that sense, yeah, you'll still hear it from time to time. But the majority of cases you're going to hear it is just going to be if you're watching Korean dramas. With a couple exceptions, there are a couple phrases we're going to learn today that everyone knows in Korea, everyone uses, regardless, nothing to do with Korean dramas. You'll hear people use it, but it's like a popular Korean drama expression. So we'll learn about that too. Hey, Grandpa Mikey. Hanyang, yeah. Grandpa Mikey, welcome. And thank you. We actually also got, before I write down Grandpa Mikey, we also got another donator who came in before the stream started, Komarova. I guess they said they're Russian, and they just said thank you for the streams, and they donated $5 before we started, so thank you as well for them. And Grandpa Mikey gets a little, let's do a little dab party. Now, I don't have any historical drama themed music for a dab, but I do have this, which might work. Oh wait, that's not, I don't want to mix it. There we go. I gotta make some new dab animations. Something like that. Thank you. Does historical drama relate to like Korean proverbs? I'm not sure what you mean. No, unless you have something else to add to that question, then possibly. Yes, so today's lesson is going to be a bit different than a regular lesson, as you'll find out. I normally don't do these sort of lessons. If you followed along with my other live streams, you'll notice that like 100% of them are just grammar topics. Like how to use this grammar form, or this, this, how to say I think, and it'll be like 2 grammar forms, or how to use this grammar form, and it'll just be 1 grammar form, like that. I haven't really done any lessons before where we just talk about a topic, such as historical Korean drama, Korean, like that. This is the first time I'd say we've ever done anything like this. So depending on how many people come to today's lesson and rewatch it after it's done, and depending on how everything goes, we could do more lessons like this in the future, but I don't know. We might just go back to the regular individual topics for future lessons, just because this type of thing takes a lot more writing, a lot more preparation. It's kind of like making one of my videos, but I'm presenting it live. So we'll see how it goes. When did they transition from the historical Korean to modern Korean? There was never like a time when they just said, hey, everyone, now we're not going to use our historical Korean anymore. All right, so stop saying that grammar form. Stop using that word. There was never a time like that. It just transitioned over time slowly. So you'll see more of it. The farther back you go, it'll change and then slowly change to what we have today. There wasn't a period where it's like, okay, let's stop talking like this and now let's change the way we talk. Not really anyway. Nothing major like that. It was more of a slow process. Is this the kind of grammar that can be found in the Bible, since the Bible has archaic grammar? Yes. I didn't want to advertise this as, let's learn some Bible Korean, kids. So, but yes, the Korean translations of the Bible, as long as you're talking about like the older translations, not the modern translations, because there's like thousands of different translations for that. If you're talking about like the older translations for it, yes, this would be like that too, because that used when it was translated, it used the regular language that people spoke, which is the language we're going to be learning today, which they use in Korean drama. So yes, and no, in that we're not focusing on that sort of language, but yes, those forms would also be used there too. Okay, we'll get started in just 2 more minutes, everyone. Just 2 more minutes. So I know people come here early. They think we're starting, but it's always on time at 2 o'clock, because I feel like some people might come in late. They don't want to have to miss the live stream, or they don't want to have to, I don't want people to feel like they have to come in early to get the lesson. So yeah, it's right at 2 o'clock. Welcome. Yes, I see a bunch of new people coming in. Hello. Je suis moi. 갑자기 사극을 보고 싶네요. Okay. Yeah. Do you have an ancient Korean? Yeah, that's a good question, Ocean Discovery. I thought about it, and actually, I think I do. Hold on, let me see if I can find it here. Here we go. Yeah, I found it. Okay, this should enable me this should help me to blend in with the people around here. So now they won't notice anything's off. This will help me blend in better. Okay, let's see what else is going. There's no spell check on my laptop. Yes. All right. Yes, welcome everyone. Hey, Lynn. Okay. So I'm not gonna wear. It's like balancing on my head. So there's no way this is gonna stay on my hair the whole time. But we'll leave it up for just a minute until we start. Okay. 1:59. 1 more minute. Yeah, you guys can make this hat too. Now you got an old style Korean hat. Okay, wait. We got to make the thumbnail while we're here. Maybe like that. Maybe like that's the thumbnail. Or maybe like that. That's the thumbnail. Okay. Let's get started. Let's get started, everyone. Okay. Oh, another donation. 최용준 씨. Welcome. Thank you, 최용준. A new member. Thank you. I think once I get about 10 more members, I'll be able to add another animated emote, another emote to our channel. Well, they're not animated in YouTube, but they're animated on Discord. Okay. Yes, welcome. Hey, Grant. Tanega. Yes, we will be learning about that as well too, Grant. Okay, so quick introduction before we start the lesson though. Saguk. Saguk means Korean historical drama. Literally, sa, history, cook, like play, performance, drama. History, drama, historical drama. And that's all for today's lesson today. Okay. These don't always use authentic Korean. I'll just have to say that. They don't actually use real Korean that people spoke at the time, but they try. They do try. The reason is, in fact, the earlier that you go, actually, I'll say this first. The way that Korean people actually would speak to each other is not going to be the way that people write down Korean in official documents. So let me give you an example. If you're writing a journal, do you write the journal in the way that you speak? Or do you kind of compose your thoughts and write it down as nicely as you can? Think about that. Okay, now imagine that you had to spend a lot more money for your paper and your pens to get that. Now you can write down your journal. Are you going to write it down sloppy, or are you going to spend a lot of time thinking about it? You're going to spend a lot of time thinking about it. You're going to try to write it really nice, right? If you're taking records for the king and you write down what the king says, what if the king said, yeah, I don't know, like put the castle like over there or something, I don't care. Are you going to write that down? Or are you going to write down, the king proclaims, I doth seest as the most appropriate place for my kingdom beest over there. What do you think? Which way would you write? That's kind of the problem that you can have with older Korean, is that, yes, you can kind of know how Korean people spoke at the time, but no, we're not really 100% sure how each person talked, right? Some people you might know how they talked depending on the records. Other people you might not have no clue how they talked because you can't really know how that person talked with their friends. Even if it was recorded this way, well, maybe they spoke that way in public, but how would they speak that way to their family? Like, how would they talk with their friends, right? Even if a king gave an address and the person wrote down exactly what he said, is the king going to turn around and speak like that fancy style to his servants or to his friends? Probably not. So because of that, we're limited in how much we can understand how Korean people actually spoke during the times that are depicted within Korean historical dramas. But the people who make those dramas do try their best to make it sound as accurately as possible, as much as possible. But I will also say that most Korean historical dramas are set in the Chosun period. The Chosun dynasty was actually quite long, so it would be like, 1300s all the way to the end of the 1800s. And so it's a very long time period, but a lot of them are going to be set somewhere toward the second half of that. The reason is, the farther back in Korean that you go, the fewer written records there are of how people spoke Korean, and the harder it is to figure out how people actually spoke. So that's just a problem, is that we're limited in the fact that there just aren't many records at all of speaking the farther back that you go. So if you watch a Korean drama that is set during this, I'm turning into like Sean Connery, turn a Korean drama set during the Shilla dynasty. If it's set anytime prior to the Chosun dynasty, well, then you're going to have problems. In fact, we have no idea how they talked. So they're just going to have to do their best job of guessing how those people talked. Okay, that's the introduction. Oh, Aliro. Welcome. Okay, but I don't want to spend too much time in the introduction. And one more thing that, the other thing that I want to say, so the other thing I wanted to say is that if you were trying to understand Saga completely, 100%, you would need so much Korean. So much Korean. So we're not going to be learning everything that you need to know to watch Korean dramas. This is only a small taste, and I mean the smallest, tiniest taste of what you will see in Korean historical dramas. We're not going to be covering every title. I have picked out the most important titles, but this is not all of them at all. We're going to be learning about some basic phrases, some basic words, but obviously not every word. So if I might teach you the word that you could say for, to call out the king, or how the king would address his servants. But this isn't going to be every single possible title that you could hear. Like, you might call a general a certain thing, but how would you call the second ranking, third ranking general? How would you call the general's assistants? There's all these complicated titles that you might see in Korean dramas that you would just need to know fluent Korean in order to understand. So we're not going to be doing everything today, but it will be a decent taste of what you can expect. Okay, so that is the introduction for today. So I think we've cleared up everything now. So let's get started. Let's just check the chat for a second. Monkey 놀랍소. Grant James out there trying to use his 사극 Korean. I will help you with it today. We will get better at it today. Okay. Although not saying you're wrong or anything, but we'll get better at it today. You'll learn a lot more new things. Okay. So the first thing we're going to be learning about is pronouns and titles. And that means, how do you refer to other people? Now, in modern day Korean, you might be familiar with 저 or 나 for saying I. And that's it. There are a few other words you can use in different situations, but you're pretty much limited to that. 저, 나 for me. Well, you've got a lot of choices. I mean, a lot of choices in historical dramas. This is because all that 저 does is lowers yourself in all that 저 does is let me say this again. The only thing that 저 does is it lowers yourself relative to who you're speaking to. And 나 keeps yourself at the same level as who you're speaking to. 저 and 나 were still used in historical dramas, but they are very general ways of referring to yourself. And there are a lot of other ways that you'll see. So let's do the first one. Let's do 3. Anytime you see a title that starts with 소. Now, 소 comes from a Hanja word meaning small. Here, in means a person. So literally, 소인 means a small person, okay? This is, in fact, all of these 3 words are how you can say I or me. Just like saying 저 in modern Korean, 소인, 소녀, 소자. They're all a little bit different. First of all, 소인 is used by males when speaking to someone who is much higher status than they are. So this would be like, I am a little person relative to you. I like kimchi, For example, 소인 is how you would say I or me when you want to make yourself relatively small to someone who's much higher, much bigger in status. You call yourself 소인 instead of saying 나는 or 저는. 소인은, 소인. The next one is 소녀. Now, 소녀 means little or small girl, small girl. So you can guess that this is used with females. However, it's not the same usage as 소인. I said that 소인 is used to anyone who's higher status than you. 소녀 is also used for someone higher than... 소녀 is also used to talk about yourself in front of someone else who's higher than you, specifically to your parents. So in a Korean drama, if you see a character refer to herself as 소녀, it'll be talking to her parents. 소녀, literally this little girl in reference to you, my parents. The opposite word for that would be 소자. 소자 means little or small child, and this one is used by a male, so a son speaking with his parents. Me, I, 소자. Me, I for a girl, 소녀. 소인 for anyone else, not a parent, but just a male would use this for anyone else he's speaking about who's higher ranking than himself. Now, this will typically be government officials or anyone like that, professors, special higher ranking people. Suin works for that. Okay. I'm going to leave this up just for a second and check the chat. How is the speed of this? Is this okay? I don't want to like overwhelm you guys too much. At least I don't want to overwhelm you guys too early. Yeah, make sure you do. Well, if you did 소년, that's a completely different word. There, as you know, there also is the word 소년. Okay. All right. So again, this lesson is only covering a small taste. There are hundreds of words that you can use, but these are going to be the most common ones that you'll find. So I guarantee you, if you know all the words we're doing today, it will really help you in watching Korean dramas, historical dramas specifically. Okay, next is another word for I or me. Shin. Shin. Now, there is another word, shin, which means a god. It's not that. This is shin, which means a servant, or what we would say in English, a liege. Liege. This would be used by a government official. Oops. Toward. Can you guess who this would be used toward? Yes, this would be toward any sort of royalty. So a king, for example. Or someone in the king's court, right? This is equivalent to saying, I am your servant. I am your servant, like that. I am a liege. This liege, this servant says, 신은 something, 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 whatever you want to say after that. So this would be how you would say I if you are a government official. Now, you wouldn't use this if you were transported back to ancient Korea, but you would definitely hear this used in a historical drama. Shin. So a government official, someone who's already quite high ranking, someone with a job, is talking about himself, or could be herself, referring to themselves as a servant of that person. Okay, the next one is one you'll see used all the time. And there are actually a lot of words used in this situation, but this is the one you'll see most commonly used in dramas. In reality, I'll say, in reality, this word was not used as much as it's portrayed in Korean dramas. So this is an example of where in Korean dramas, they use this word because people know it, but in reality, it might not have been used that much. There were other words that they would use instead. Anyway, jim also means I or me, but this one is used by the king. I, me, your leader, the king. So this would be used by the king to talk about himself. Jim. So this is only used by royalty, I or me, when talking to, everyone else around him. Jim. So it's only the king could use this. If you go around saying 짐은 배고파, 짐은 배고파, the king is hungry, that's what you're saying. Don't do it unless you're joking. But just know this would be used by the king as a way to say I or me. Jim. If you're curious in my research for this lesson today, I found that actually in Korea it was more common that people use the word y'all for talking about I or me as a king, but that you won't find that used in dramas as much. So that's just an alternative one. And I don't think Koreans know that one very well either. But jim everyone knows jim. Okay. So those are the words for how to say I and me, but how about so those are the words for how to say I and me, but how about how to say you in Korean, right? Well, today we have words like 당신 or 너. And at the time in Korea, they also had these words too, but they were not used quite the same way. We're going to talk about some better ones that you can use actually at the time. First of all, this one is still used in modern Korean to mean you. In modern Korean, 그대 is used in songs. Lots of songs still use 그대 for you. But historically, this was a regular word, not used in songs, a regular word that meant you, but it is used to someone only who has a similar or a lower status than you do. So I'm going to do that with an arrow. So a similar status as you, or a lower status as you. So here is you, here's na, here's me. And you can use kude to someone who's a similar ranking as you, similar status, or lower status, but never to someone who's higher ranking or higher status than you are. So you can never say kude to a government official, to the king, to an aristocrat, to a noble. You would only be able to say it to, for example, an acquaintance that you know who maybe your same age or does the same job as you or something like that. So same status or below. Kude. And it's not required that you sing it when you say it. You can just say it normally. Kude는. Kude. Okay. The next one is probably going to be Grant's favorite. Tane. Now, this is a very well-known word that means you, and it's still used today in modern Korean as well. You'll still see chane used as well. Usually, though, in modern Korean, you'll only hear it used by older people. But it's still used. This one is used to say you. Oops. Hey, Jorn Bovin. Thank you. Jorn Bovin. Jorn. Thanks, Jorn. I'm going to give you a Jorn dab for that. Jorn. Thank you. Okay, so tane is also used to say you. Now, this is only to someone with... So here, I'll indicate again. So here's na, here's me, the person who's talking. This is only used to someone who is a lower status than you. And, optionally, a close friend. So this is kind of like a casual sounding version, casual. So this is a casual sounding way of saying you. So this would not be formal. This is not appropriate for people who you don't know well. This would be like your close friends, and it has a tone of like you're talking down status to someone else. In modern Korean, you can think of this as kind of similar to the word no, right? You wouldn't use no unless you're trying to start a fight with a stranger, but you could use no if you're talking with your close friends, especially if they're the same age as you or younger. So it would be kind of equivalent to that. But again, it has kind of a casual tone to it. It doesn't have a harsh tone to it. It's just quite casual sounding. Jane has a nice, casual, kind of a intimate tone, I'll say. So you'll see tane used a lot in Korean dramas as well. Okay, I know we're going a bit fast. It's just because right now we're only doing words. Next, we're going to do some phrases, and then we'll do grammar after that. So normally grammar is the stuff that we spend more time on. But okay, the next one is one that you're definitely going to hear a lot, and that is nari. Nari. You'll hear nari used all the time. This one means something like your honor. Your honor. Or sir. And a lot of times you'll hear this pronounced as nauri, nauri, nauri. But actually, it's supposed to just be nari. So you'll see this one used in Korean dramas by who? This will be used by someone of low status. So this would not be a government official or anyone in royalty or any teachers or any really important business people. This would be someone just of low status. A regular common person could use this to someone of high status. By high status, specifically, that would be a prince, for example, or maybe their master, if they're working for someone, or their husband. Now, in 2020, that's not so cool, but in older Korean, that was more of the norm. The women would have to call up to their husbands, right? Because the husbands would be considered like a higher status than the wives are in normal Korean culture back then. But that's why you'll see this used a lot in historical dramas. So it is a low status person. Again, keep in mind, this is only for people who feel themselves to be lower status. So this wouldn't be, it wouldn't be like a regular worker saying nari to someone above them. This is someone low status talking up to be extra respectful to them. Your honor, sir, like that sort of feeling to it. You. So this still means you. Nari, nari. So keep that in mind. This can be used by both boys and girls, but because it also has the additional usage of being for a husband, you might hear this used more often by females when you're watching historical dramas. So keep that in mind. But it can be anyone, boy or girl. Okay, a few more. Oh no, we're actually halfway done with the words. Okay, the next one we're going to be using is Manim. Now, Manim will go after a title as well. So it'll be something, usually their specific type of position, followed by Manim. And Manim also means your honor. And it is used similarly to Nadi, with some exceptions. So Nadi, like we said, was for someone low status, talking with someone high status, like a prince or a master, or maybe their husband. Manim, however, is different. Manim will be used to someone of high status to mean Madam, or Your Excellency. Now, I say Madam. It doesn't have to be female. A lot of times it tends to be a female when this word gets attached. But this is similar to Nadi. However, the usage is a little bit different. So Nadi is used by itself. Manim, however, will be attached to something else. So it won't just be Manim. It'll be something here, Manim. Something, something, Manim. So I'm not going to be going over this. There are actually a lot of different words that can go before this that you might see in Korean dramas. But keep it in mind that if you ever see a title or someone calls someone, if you ever hear someone call someone else something, something, Manim, that's what they're saying. It's basically like Nadi, but it's with an ending title. So it's just a different usage. And it also means, just like Nadi, it also means your honor. It can also be used for females who have high ranking, high status. So it could be used for, like, you know, queen or someone in the royal household, like that. So Your Excellency in that sort of sense. But it doesn't have to. Okay. Now let's go to another super common one that you probably have heard. Let's actually do two really common ones that you've probably heard. And that is 전화, 폐하. Okay, do you guys know what these ones mean? 전화, 폐하. Can you guess what they might mean? 전화, 폐하. I'm trying to act. Okay. 전화 and 폐하. These are used by these would be used by the royal court, but it doesn't have to be. But the literal meaning of these is basically Your Majesty. Your Majesty. And they're slightly different. Now, you might hear both of these used in the same usage, but they're actually a little bit different. 전화 is used toward the king. So this is how you say you toward the king, but it's kind of like saying Your Majesty. I wrote this really messy. Let's do this again. Your Majesty. And 폐하 would be to the emperor. So, for example, if the drama includes like a Chinese dynasty, one of the emperors of China, they would refer to him by 폐하. They're both similar, though. They both mean a ruler that you're talking to. So, 전화, 폐하. You have to say it. You have to say it with lots of intensity, though. That's the rule. You can't be like 전화. You have to be like 전화, 폐하 when you say it, because that's how they always yell it in the Korean dramas. Because it's always like, the queen has been murdered, or like something terrible has happened. So they start the conversation with 전화, like that. Just keep that in mind. You have to say 전화. You can't just say 전화. So that's one of the rules. It's not, there's no sources. I couldn't find any sources for this. Just take my word. That's how they always said it. They always yelled it with their face has to be like shaking and maybe like sweat going down their forehead. So yeah, this is what you want to use. Okay, let's go to the next one. Hopefully I didn't hurt anyone's ears. Okay, let me just check the chat for just a second. Okay, someone just wrote, 전화 발레. Yeah, sure. 폐하, 살아십시오. You can say we're going to learn about this. 살려주십시오. You could do something like that. Okay. The next one we're going to be using is also kind of similar to it. That is mama. Now this one you'll also see, you could see it used by itself. You'll also see this one often used with something before it. Something, something, mama, to make a title. And this is also how you would say Your Majesty, but it has a different meaning. We learned that Cholna and Pea are used like the king or the emperor. Well, this one is not used to the king. This would be used to royal court members. Or royal family. So if you are addressing a royal family member, not the king himself or an emperor, you're just talking to someone who's in the royal court, you know, the king's entourage, and you want to refer to them very respectfully, well, you would also use their title, whatever their title is, plus mama or mama, mama. You have to like close your eyes for at least a minimum of 5 seconds. You have to count it on your watch when you say it. You have to like put your head down. These are these unspoken rules of Korean historical dramas. You guys are glad. You guys should be glad you're watching my stream. You won't get these details from anywhere else. You won't find it in any dictionary. Okay, mama. So your Majesty for the royal court or the royal family. And I'm kind of going through these quickly because I don't want to spend too much time in case you guys are not interested in specific ones. Because some of them you'll feel like, I don't need that one. I don't need that. Oh, I like that. So I want to make sure we can get through all those. The next one we're going to be doing is kyung. Now, I actually debated including this one because it's quite specific, but you hear it used a lot. So I'm adding it in here. Kyung also means you, but kyung is used by a royal court. Let me write this down. But this one is used by a royal court member or royal family member toward a subject, someone who serves them. So this is how a royal family member or a royal court member would then refer to the person who calls them something mama. Okay? So the person would say, mama, kyung, mama, kyung, mama, kyung, like that. This is an actual historic scene I'm recreating verbatim. It's not recorded. Just take my word for it. I'm here right now. I clearly know what I'm talking about. So yeah. Kyung is used to say you, but this would be what the royal court or a royal family member would use to call their subjects. Kyung. So you'll hear that used too. All right. Now we're done with all the words for I or you. Let's talk about what you would talk about what you would say for other people, right? Because there's not only me and you, there's also that person, right? Or him or her, like that. So let's learn a few words for that. And the first one you're going to want to learn is the word 이. You'll see a lot of words, you'll see a lot of Korean expressions that have adjective plus 이. Now I know Grant James, you're going to totally know what I'm talking about. 이 means person. 사람. And it's still used today in modern Korean, less often, but in older Korean, it was used quite like just the word 사람. So, how would you say this person in older Korean? 이. How would you say that person in modern Korean? How would you say that person in historical Korean? 그. And how would you say that person over there? 저. 그, 저. So this would be the equivalent of saying 이 사람, 그 사람, 저 사람. So this person, or that person over there. In addition, there was one more word that you can use to mean 사람, and that is 치. 치 also means 사람. However, 치 is only for talking down to someone. So 치 would not be saying that person over there, but that dude over there, that girl over there, or that weak little peasant over there. This would be for talking down to a person. So you'll often hear words used in Korean dramas like 이 치, 그 치, 저 치, meaning this person, or that person over there. And it has the same meaning, but it's talking down to them. So if you don't want to be polite, Well, 이 isn't necessarily polite, but it's not rude. 티 is a bit talking down to them. So that's, that person over there. Grab that person and put them in jail. Like that, you would say like that. So, 이, 그, 저, or 이티, 그치, 저치. Okay. And you'll hear 티 used a lot also. Just keep your ears open. You'll hear this stuff used a lot now that you know. Okay, so these are the words for you, but let's talk about a few other really important nouns that you're going to hear. The first one, actually, let me just write these down because they're kind of related. 양반 and 백성. Okay, the first word is 왕세자, or 왕 is optional, so you can just say 세자. This is the crown prince. As in, the king's son, the next person who's going to inherit the throne. You could call him 왕세자 or just 세자. So this is how they refer to the crown prince. It's a proven mathematically that in 98.3% of historical dramas, the crown prince falls in love with a lowly servant girl, and they have a 75 to 77 episode adventure of, running away and getting married. He dies to cancer or something like that. It's proven. Just take my word for it. So yes, this would be the crown prince, which is you'll hear it in a lot of dramas. The next one is 양반, and this is noblemen. Now I say noblemen because it was typically noblemen that would take this title. 양반 would be like your aristocrats. These would be the rich old dudes with lots of money, and they have a strong effect on the government at the time. In fact, this would be like you'll hear in dramas, you'll see like random characters walking down the streets dressed kind of nice. They'll be like smoking a pipe and they'll be like, and they'll share some like fancy expressions with each other and laugh. They'll drink tea. They'll just kind of relax and draw art all day or do nothing. That's 양반, the noble class. Now, they're usually depicted in a negative way in these historical dramas because it was kind of like it was just a term used for anyone. They would use it for themselves, but it was any sort of noble class. So people with the wealthy class, the aristocrats. And in that way, it's still used today as a term. In modern Korean, people will still use this as kind of a negative way of referring to just, people with lots of money, old dudes with lots of money, that sort of thing. But yeah, at the time it really was the upper class noble people. So that's who you'll see in the dramas walking around with the fancy clothes, not holding swords. They're just walking around, drinking tea and talking with their friends in the background. And it'll usually be the first guy that gets stabbed as soon as the war breaks out. The next one is 백성, and that means the people, specifically like the people, like the subjects of the king, the king's people. The king spoke to all of the people. 백성, that's the word you'll see. So these are just some 3 common nouns that I think you guys should know. Okay, let me just take a 30-second break and drink some more caffeine and check out the chat for a second. Yeah, or sometimes to be rude to people. Yes. It would be used kind of like an insult. Like this rich dude thinks he's got a lot of money. He's crazy. This rich dude's crazy. In that sort of sense, they still use the word 양반 today. They're 양반. Americans are 양반s because they're willing to wait in line. Okay. Yeah, you'll still see 양반 used all the time. Did someone post if your last name is Kim? No, because Kim would be the family. They probably do 김씨, not 김치, because it's not Kim Saram. I get it was trying to be a joke, but as a Korean teacher, I have to tell you, it grammatically doesn't work. But I get what you're trying to say. I get it. Okay. The next thing is, how do you call out? So you are a young female who's just been plunged back in time into a Korean historical drama, and you fall in love. You find your 왕세자, and you fall in love, and you need to call out to him so that he'll come to you and you can get married. So how do you call out oppa? You want to say oppa, but he doesn't understand because that's modern Korean. So what do you call him? Let's learn about those words that you need next. These are the only three words that you need. Well, I'm simplifying a bit, but these are the most important three words that you need. 누이, 오라버니, 언니. And they might not be what you think. They might not be exactly what you're thinking here. First of all, 누이 is the original version of 누나, but it also had one more use to mean 여동생. So a female would use this to refer to an older female, 누나, just like today, 누나, or to a younger female, 여동생, like we would say today, 동생. 누이 just meant a sister, whether older or younger, 누이. And this verb evolved into 누나. Now we say 누나 today. The next word is 오라버니. 오라버니 is today's oppa. It's one of the original forms of the word oppa. So oppa came from the word 오라버니. So in a Korean historical drama, they're not going to say oppa. They're going to say 오라버니, 오라버니 in the exact same way. So you need to call out to your 왕세자 using 오라버니 if you're going to at all. And then he can promptly ignore you because that's what he would have definitely done. Or maybe said like, 저치, put that girl in jail or get her out of my sight or whatever. Unless you were extremely beautiful or were actually super rich or something like that. That's just the harsh reality of these times we're living in right now in the old historical Korean town that I'm clearly in. And the next word is actually quite interesting. 언니. Now you might recognize the word 언니 used today. But it has one more use. 형. This would have been the word to refer to any sort of older sibling. I shouldn't say that. This would be the word to refer to what am I trying to say? This would be the word to refer to someone who's older than you of the same gender. So if you're a girl, you can use this to refer to an older girl as 언니. 언니. And if you're a guy, you can use it to refer to another older guy as 언니, meaning 형. So this served the purpose of both 언니 today and 형. So in Korean historical dramas, you might hear a guy character, a male character, refer to another male who's older than him as 언니, 언니. That's what it is. Just an older person of the same gender who is, and it's a familiar term. So just like 언니 and 형 are used today, you wouldn't use these to strangers typically. Okay, but we've got a couple more important words to learn. Okay. 김연 언니야. Yeah, you could call them that. That'd be pretty funny. It might get annoying, but yeah, go ahead and do that. I think it'll be pretty funny. Okay, the next word, you're going to hear it a lot. 도련님. 도련님. This would be used to refer to a young male. Specifically, this would be used to a 양반's son, but it's really just used for any sort of young male. So this is referring to a young male, and literally it means something like young master. So you'll see this translated in historical dramas often as something like young master. 도련님. A female character might call to a male character, whether younger or older than her, but he is someone who is like of a 양반 family, someone of a wealthy family, with 도련님, young master. So you'll hear this one as well. 도련님, 도련님. The 님 here makes it polite, so it's referring to someone else. Just keep that in mind. If you were referring to yourself, in this spot, you would not be calling yourself 도련님. We'll talk about that in a second. I believe there's an example in the... let me see. Is there an example in this worksheet? Yes, there is an example in today's lesson that we're going to be going to for... is it? 도령. Maybe there's not for this one. Okay. Anyway, this would be though referring for someone else. So like saying young master. Okay. And one more important word that you should definitely know. And that's agashi. Now this word is still used today in Korean, but it's a little bit different. You can hear agashi or just ashi. Same thing, agashi, ashi. This means a young female, so this would be a daughter of a yangban. Young female. Hey, young female over there. Young female. So before we had 도련님 to refer to young master, a son of yangban, so a young, kind of a wealthy young man. Now we have a wealthy family daughter, so a young female, agashi or ashi. So you wouldn't call like some, at the time there were a lot of slaves in Korea. You wouldn't call one of them agashi or 도련님. This would be the yangban class. So this would be like, the common people's, the wealthier people's class ways of calling those people. So you'll see both of these used as well. Okay, agashi and ashi. All right, so those are all the words, the individual titles that I wanted to teach you. Next, we're going to be learning about several important words and phrases that you're going to find in Korean dramas. The first thing we're going to talk about is how to change my pen color into blue so we can shake things up a bit. Manse! Manse! Now, this might still be used today. Today, it's used humorously. So it's still used, but at the time it would have been an actually used phrase. And it's pretty much like saying huzzah! Huzzah! Literally, it means man, 10,000 se, years. As in, 10,000 years, may the king live 10,000 years. So like, long live the king, right? Long live the king. In that sort of meaning, literally, but it was used just to say huzzah. So whenever you're really excited about something, you can shout out, manse, right? If you do that today, though, it's just kind of a humorous way of saying it. It's not used in seriousness anymore. Obviously, there is no king in Korea right now, so you're not going to need to use it really, but it's still used today just kind of like as an older style way of shouting out something. Manse! Like that. Okay. Come on, erase. Okay, we're good. No. All right, I need to buy some more markers. All right, the next thing is we're gonna learn two fun Korean expressions. Actually, let me do these last. Let me do these after we finish the rest of our words. I think we should do this right after. Okay, I'm gonna do 3 more words, and then we're gonna talk about 2 expressions used in Korean dramas that 100% of Korea knows. So it's 2 phrases you can definitely use with anyone. First though, let's talk about 2 more things. Sangtu. Sangtu is the hairstyle that you'll see in a lot of Korean dramas. That is the kind of hairstyle. So here's our hair. Okay, and this is our guy. There's our character right here, our very handsome character. Very handsome 도련님. And on top of his hair, he's got this thing, right? He's got the bun of hair, right? You know what I'm talking about. This sort of hairstyle is called sangtu. this word, you might not see this word used a lot in Korean dramas. So these are just some words that you should know. You might not see the characters talk about this word much, but that's the name of that kind of hairstyle. So the next time you go to Korea and you want to get your hair cut, you can request this style. They'll probably laugh you out of the store, but you could, this is, if you want to get that kind of hairstyle, this is how you can ask for it. So you would ask for the sangtu style of hair, and that's that type of the man bun. This was the man bun. Of course, at that, that's all I'm going to say. Not saying anything else. I might have there might be some yoga instructors watching, so that's all I'll say. Okay, the next word we're going to be learning about is kat. Now, kat means hat. It's just the regular word for hat. But at the time, hats looked like, a lot of hats looked like that. So you probably have seen it, right? These big black hats that they'll wear in the Korean dramas. Here's our character again. This guy's kind of looking there. This hat looks like a witch wearing like one of those pointed hats or something. Anyway, or like the Harry Potter sorting hat. Okay, kat is just a regular Korean word, but an old Korean word that means hat. So kat actually referred to any hat at the time. But nowadays, if we think of the word kat, Koreans will only think of this style of hat. And there are various heights. So different people of different status would wear a different height hat. So it's not that you would just pick a hat that you like, you would pick a hat that kind of matches with you. But there are all sorts of styles, and all of those were just called kat. And then among kat, there are, of course, different names of specific types of hats that you want to get. So this would be the word for kat. I mean, this would be the word for hat, for hot. I can't even speak English. I need some more caffeine. So this would be the word for hat. Gryffindor. Okay. And the last word we're going to be learning is 리. You'll see 리 used a lot. 리 is from Hanja. You don't need to know this. It is a unit of measurement that they used at the time. Nowadays, you don't need it anymore. And there was no exact amount of measurement. There was no exact measurement to this. Different places would have used it to mean different amounts. And this measurement was also used in China too, I believe, but it's different measurement. Anyway, in Korea, they've recognized, they've kind of made a standard amount just so people can use it today. At about a quarter mile, I believe that's like 0.39 kilometers or something like that. So this is a unit of distance, a distance for measuring. That is about a quarter of a mile. So you'll see characters in Saguk talk about taking a journey. It might be 1000리, 1,000 quarters of a mile, or 250 miles. That would be a very big journey at the time. Nowadays, I could pop in my car and go there and back in one day. At the time, you would have spent weeks or months making that sort of journey. So people might go on journeys and they'll measure that with 리. Okay, now let's learn some fun phrases. I have 2 phrases that every single Korean knows, and I'll write one of them down here. Okay, this is optional. And we're also going to be learning about the grammar used in this too, so don't worry. Okay. 성은이 만극하옵니다. 만극하옵니다. Now, this is a grammar ending we will be learning about today. But you can think of it as kind of like the 합니다 ending for the most part. It's pretty much like 합니다. What this means is 만극하다 means to be great or immeasurable. As in, so great it cannot be measured in that sense. 성은 is a word that means your grace. So literally it's your grades. Your grades are, you got all A's. Okay, did I just write it? Why can't, your grace. your grace is immeasurable. Now, you don't need to use 성은 이. You don't need to use 성은. This is just the subject marker here, 이. You don't need to say 성은 이. You can just say 만극하옵니다. And what this means is thank you. Thanks. THX. Thanks. Thank you, as in your grace is immeasurable. Thank you greatly, in that sort of sense. And Koreans nowadays still know and use this expression. If you ask your Korean friends, hey, do you know any expressions used in 사극? They're going to tell you this one. 만극하옵니다. 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 Read quickly. Yeah, Grant knows the 리. 아리랑. Yeah, 심리도 못 가서 발병난다. Yeah, that's right. That's one of the 아리랑s. There are actually like 7 or more. There's a lot of different 아리랑 songs. That's one of them, the most popular one today. Anyway, 성은이, like I said, this is optional. So just 만극하옵니다. Thank you. Thank you in a very old-fashioned style. And there's one more phrase in Korean that everyone knows from Korean dramas. And you might think that I'm just teaching you only 2. You might be thinking, Billy, I want more phrases. But in reality, that's it. Koreans only know like these 2 phrases from Korean dramas. There could be a few others if you're a fan of a specific show. There are some like joke, like meme quotes you might have heard in different shows. But as far as most Korean people are just going to know these 2 sentences, these 2 phrases from Korean dramas. So that's one. The other one is 전화. Now, this is optional. You don't have to start it by saying 전화. Again, you use 전화 if you're talking to the king. So this would be like reference to the king. So like, Your Majesty. But it's optional. You don't have to start it with this if you want. 통촉하여. I'll explain this. We'll also learn about this grammar form, so don't worry. 주시옵소서. Now, this is another grammar form. I think Arlie was asking about if it's used in the Bible. Yes, this is stuff you'll see in the Bible as well. And we'll be talking about lots of older grammar in just a second after this phrase. 전하, Your Majesty, 통촉하여 주시옵소서. 주시옵소서. 통촉하여 주시옵소서. Now, 통촉하다 means to understand. As in, 하여. 하여 is from 하다. 하여 is the original way to conjugate the verb 하다. Now, nowadays we conjugate it as 해. 하다 becomes 해, like 좋아해요. Well, it used to be 하여. 하여 was this 해. And 하여 got combined, so now it's 해. But it's the same thing. So it's the same as saying 해 주세요. 통촉해 주세요 is the modern equivalent, but no one says that. 통촉하다 is an older verb that means to understand. So literally, please understand us. Please understand me. And it's used in this way to beg someone's forgiveness or to beg their kindness. So literally, kind of like, I beg your understanding. Please understand. Or, I beg your kindness. So in that way, it can be, I'm sorry. In that way, it could be, please forgive me. In that way, it can be like, or it could be like, please stop. Like, don't punish me. I beg your kindness in that sort of way. But there wouldn't be necessarily one translation for it. It'll depend on the situation. Like if the king's like beating someone, or well, the king's not going to be doing it himself, but if the king orders someone to get beat, then that person might be 통촉하여 주시옵소서, like that. I beg your kindness, as in please stop. Just stop, just quit it. I got it. Okay, I got it. The 5th hit, I understand. But yeah, so this is please understand me. Please. We beg your kindness, that sort of sense. 전하, Your Majesty, 통촉하여 주시옵소서. We beg your kindness. Like that. Okay, so that is all of the titles, and that is all of the words and the phrases that we're going to be learning today. Now it's time for the fun part. Grammar. Which is, I know, what you've all been waiting for, of course. Probably not. Some of you are just like, some of you just get the words, you're like, okay, I'm good. All right, peace, I'm out. Okay, let's go back to black because erase is easier. So we're going to be learning about several of the most commonly used grammar forms. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the most commonly used grammar forms that you're going to find in Korean drama. Now, Korean historical drama. Now, if I'm missing any, feel free to tell me after. We can maybe talk about it. So we are only 5 minutes behind so far. That's great. Okay. The first one is 오 or 소. Now, Grant was using this a little bit in the chat. And it's not quite this simple, though. It's not just attaching 오 or attaching 소. This form, in order to make this form, you take a verb stem and you will attach 오 if it ends in a consonant. Wait, did I get that right? Yes, okay. Consonant, oh no, I got it wrong, sorry. A consonant 소, okay. I was like, no, that's wrong. And I checked my paper and it was definitely the correct way on my paper, so I was just saying it wrong. Okay, the way you make this form is if the verb stem, you take a verb stem. If the verb stem ends with a consonant, you will attach 소. If the verb stem ends with a vowel, you will attach 오, or you can attach 소. Either one. There's like another exception for that, but typically this is pretty much all you have to do. Oh, hey Grant. 만극하옵니다. 빌리 전화. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Grant. Wow, awesome. I gotta do a special 사극 dab. This was the traditional way of dabbing. Don't make fun of me, it's the traditional way. We should not mock our history. This is how they actually dabbed back then. Okay? You don't like it, don't blame me. I'm just trying to recreate this as historically accurate as possible. Thank you, Grant. Okay, I think that's good. And the music stopped and I was still dabbing. Okay. All right. So, what this is this was straightforward 반말. Plain old 반말. At the time, this would be the regular way you would just speak casually to other people. It was straightforward. You could use it in questions. You could use it in just statements, as in just saying something. And you can even use it in commands. I'll just write an arrow. Like do something. 오, 소. So this was equivalent to 반말, which you can also do those same things too. Like, hey, is it? Question. It is. Statement. Do it. Command. Like that. And this was also used in exclamations. Let's put that. So if you wanted to shout out something, this would be the form they used. So it was a very versatile, casual form in older Korean. You'll still see it used today, actually, in the exact same way. So this is an example of an archaic form that never really died. People use it today jokingly, though. So if you hear someone, they might say like, 이거 보소. Look at this. 이거 보다. 보다, 보, and then you can use 보오 or 보소. So they'll just say 보소. 이거 보소. Look at this. And it's supposed to sound like fancy because it's old style. People will still use it today. So keep your ear open for it in a joking manner. People will still use it today as well. So keep your ears open for that. Anyway, so consonant plus 소 or vowel plus 오 or 소. So let's do 3 examples of this form. If you only learn one grammar form today, let it be this one. Okay, 나는, again, they still use 나 and 저 at the time. It's just there are other options depending on who you're speaking with. 그대가, 나는 그대가 누군지 모르오. So 모르다 ends with a vowel, so we're going to attach 오 to the end. 모르오. 나는 그대가 누군지 모르오. 나는 그대가 누군지 모르오. Don't be too harsh on my 사극 style speaking. I really didn't live during that time. But anyway, 나는 I, 그대가, you, as in speaking you to someone who is the same or lower status than you. So I, 그대가 누군지, who you are. 모르다, to not know. 모르오, I do not know. 반말. This is 반말. 나는 그대가 누군지 모르오. I do not know whoest thou art. In that sort of sense. I knowest not who thou art. I can't even speak old style English. Okay. 나는 그대가 누군지 모르오. Okay, let's do another one. I got two more. Okay, this one's really simple. Okay, normally if you're saying something's good, you'd say 좋아. 좋아. Well, how would we say that? I want you guys to make this. This is very, very short. I want you guys to conjugate to say good with this form. So how can we do that? I'll give you guys like 30 seconds to make it. I know we're a little bit behind on time with my schedule, but it's okay. Let's just do it. Nice. Okay. Good. Oh, Grant, we're going to be learning about that really soon. Grant just said, I didn't know the O was for after vowels. Yeah, we're going to talk about, there's something cool. There's something really cool, Grant, in the next sentence. You're going to like it. Yes, I spent a lot of time preparing this lesson. Okay, yes. 좋소. So if you want to say something's good and you want to sound fancy, 좋소. This would be the same thing as today saying 좋아. 좋소. Good. Like that. 좋소. Again, since it ends with a consonant, we need to attach 소 to the end. So, 좋소. And the next sentence I think is very interesting. Well, I think it's really interesting. You guys might not care. Some of you will care. 저치. So remember I said that 치 was a way of talking down to a person, and it means 사람. 저 사람. That person. 저치는 누구? Question. I want you guys to finish this sentence. In modern Korean, we would say 누구야. Who is that person? Using the verb 이다, right? To be. All of you, and especially Grant, how would we finish this sentence? We want our old style. We want to say, who are you? Not who are you? We want to say, 저치, that person. Who is that person? So how would we say that? Grant, remember how to make it. I always care when you speak out grammar. Okay. Grant, you're really close, but what's wrong? You can't just say 누구오. You can't just say 누구오, because what's the verb? 이다. Someone got it. I'll say this. A couple people got it in chat. A couple people actually got it in chat. Yes, Recon. Recon got it. This is... Guys, this form evolved into the modern day form. Okay, so ida is the stem. So what should come after this? I, o. Well, it could be io. What is io? Yo. This, but wait a minute, Billy. You said this is 반말. You said this is informal. So what's the yo doing here? Well, that's the original form. Kind of cool, huh? Yo originally came from io. Just this part. Just this usage of it. So you can get yo, although in modern usage, yo is used for a polite ending. In this usage, though, in the older style, this is not a polite ending. This is a casual way of speaking. 이요, 요, 누구요. 저치는 누구요. Who is that person? 반말. This is not polite. This is 반말. Speaking, just casually. Who is that guy? Who's that girl? Who's that person? 저치는 누구요. 저치는 누구요. Like that. Kind of cool, I think. Yeah, it would be written though like this, not as iyo. It could be written as eo if you want, but it would be written shortened to just yo. So who is that person? Okay, that is this grammar form. This one's pretty simple though, if you get it. So after a consonant, o, or so, you can also use so after a vowel. So about that, you could say something like 보다. Look at the newspaper. 신문을, you could say 보소 or 보오. 신문을 보오. 신문을 보소. You'll often hear so in this case for things that have just a simple vowel, you tend to hear so anyway, but it's either one's fine. They're both acceptable. And in fact, I often hear people say 보소 still today. Like they'll still use this style of speaking today just because it sounds kind of cool. Okay, let's do our next form. We have 6 grammar forms left. This one is this one is say. So you take a noun and you'll attach. Actually, let me keep this simpler. Yeah, let me make it simpler. Noun plus irse or anirse. So you'll hear either irse or anirse. What this is irse is ida and anirse is anida. So it is or it isn't. This is also a grammar form you'll hear all the time. This is also 반말. So this is also casual speech. However, this is used with when you're explaining what you think. So this is similar to the other form we did with o or so, but this is only used when you want to make it clear that what you're saying is an explanation of your thoughts. But it's also 반말, just like before. It can also be used like an exclamation. So it can be used as a statement, just you're saying something, or you're exclaiming something, but whatever it is, it's used for explaining what it is that you think. So I'm saying what I think, and what I think is, it is noun, or it isn't noun. Ida, to be, anida, to not be. So you're saying, I think it is noun, or I think it is not noun. That's what this form means. So let's do an example with that. You'll hear this one all the time also. 그 사람일세. 바로 그곳에. 바로 자네 잘못이 아닐세. Okay, let's do this one. 자네. So remember, we learned about 자네. 자네 is talking about you when you're using it to someone who is a lower status than you or a close friend. So it's kind of like an intimate, a familiar, casual way of referring to you. So 자네, like you. 자네, in this case, it's going to be your. 자네, 잘못, mistake. Your mistake, 이 아닐세. I think 자네 잘못이 아닐세. I think it is not a mistake. It is not your 자네 잘못, your mistake. I don't think it's your mistake. I think it is not. I am saying, I am expressing my thoughts, and my thoughts are, it is not your mistake. 자네 잘못이 아닐세. I don't think it's your fault. 자네 잘못이 아닐세. I'll leave this up for a few seconds. Let me just check the chat. I don't want to miss any of this important chat. How are you guys doing? Yeah, Grant, we're also going to do the other say, which is yes, let's. We'll talk about that in a second. That's why I rewrote it, because I realized it's only used in that form anyway when it's saying an expression. So we'll talk about that. 사실 아닐세. It won't be the truth. Yes, that would be correct. 사실이 아닐세. Suna, 말 일세 would be used like 말이다. And I did a whole live stream about how to say 말, how to use 말이다. But yeah, that's like what I'm saying is I thinking that something like that. Like 그렇단 말일세, whatever you want to say. Whatever you want to 일세. Okay. Now I have something to talk about. All right, so let's do another example. Oh, actually, no. That's good enough. But hopefully you guys get it, because we got to keep moving on. Okay, there is another form that looks like this, though. That's different. And that is with an action verb stem. The previous one didn't have to be an action verb. It was just any verb. Sorry, the previous one was just with a noun. This one is with only an action verb. So you take an action verb stem and you attach se. So that's it. 하다, 하세, 가다, 가세. Anything like that. This is also 반말. So it's casual speech. And this was a 반말 way to say let's. So this would be equivalent to saying like 하자 today. 하자, 하세, like that. Let's do an example. Also, quickly, 궁. Kung means a palace. So kung is how you refer to the palace. You guys, there's probably like even, I think there was a Korean drama called like Kung or something like that. Anyway, also 궁으로 가세. Also, quickly, 궁으로, toward the palace, 가세. Let's go. Hurry up, let's go to the palace. Also 궁으로 가세. Also 궁으로 가세. So this was just a casual way of saying let's. And it was just attaching se to the action verb stem. Okay. Check here. Is there a good resource for phrases like this? Watch lots of Korean drama. You can research it because like I researched using lots of Korean resources, but there's not like a book. There's not like a Korean made research book for this type of stuff. Not that I could find. You just kind of have to search it out yourself. Watch lots of Korean historical dramas. Anyway, so action verb stem plus se. So this was let's. Also 궁으로 가세. So let's hurry and go to the castle. Sorry, let's hurry and go to the palace. 궁 meaning palace. Okay, the next form we're going to be learning is used very frequently in video games too. So that is action verb stem plus ma. Now, the way you do this is if it ends with a consonant, if the verb stem ends in a consonant, you'll attach uma. And if the verb stem ends in a vowel, you'll just attach ma. This, however, is not the same as saying hajima, hajimaseo. It's not related to that. That means don't do something. This is not related at all. This is similar to the modern keo ending. So this would have been a similar form of saying 할게요, 제가 할게요. I will do it. 할게요. 잘 먹을게. 생각해볼게. What this means is you are promising to do something. So when you're going to say, I will do it, as in like, I shall. I shall do something in that sort of sense. Like, I shall do it for you as a promise. Like, I promise to do that for you in that sort of sense. So this would be used, in fact, I think it's used in like League of Legends. One of the characters uses it or something like that. So if you have a verb like 하다, 하마. If you have a verb like 받다, to receive, 받으마. So that's how it's conjugated. So let's do an example sentence of this one. Okay. 중전 mama. 중전 mama would be the queen. Remember how I said that mama is used after titles as kind of a way to say your majesty, but it's only used to people who are in the royal court or the royal family. So this would not be used to the king himself, but this would be used to a queen. So this is how you would call a queen. 중전 mama. So queen, basically, 중전 mama. Oh wait, sorry, I'm starting to write it from the wrong sentence. This is what we're doing next. Okay, keep that in mind. I'll go back to it. Sorry, that's from the next sentence we're doing. Okay, this one's different. Sorry, I was like, as soon as I started reading the rest of it, I'm like, wait, that's a different form. We're gonna learn that next. 이 오라비가, 오라비, we'll talk about that in a second. 사주마. Okay, 이 오라비가 사주마. Now this might look really complicated, but it's actually very simple. 오라비 is how you refer to yourself, 오빠. Now in modern day Korean, 형, 누나, 언니, 오빠 are just the regular words for talking about someone else or for yourself. Now there are some other polite terms you can use, but typically you can call someone else 오빠 and they can call themselves 오빠. But in Korean, 오라버니 is used for respectfully calling to an oppa. But the oppa himself would not call himself a 오라버니 because 오라버니 is a respectful phrase. He would call himself a 오라비. So kind of like 이 오빠가, this older brother, this guy, I, as in I, in relation to you, relative to you, I am your oppa. So this oppa is going to, like that. 이 오라비가 사주마. 사주다, literally 사다, to buy, 주다, to give. So I will buy it for you. I shall buy it for you. I promise to buy it for me. For me. I promise to buy it for you. 이 오라비가 사주마. This oppa will buy it for you. That sort of meaning, like I'll buy it for you. Haha. I shall buy it for you. 이 오라비가 사주마. Okay. And you'll hear that form used all the time. Super common. Okay, next we're going to do in a row, 1, 2, 3 forms that you will find not only in Korean historical dramas, but also in like the Bible and stuff like that. So these are really common. Verb stem plus 나이다 or plus 나이까. Now, 나이다 will be used for statements and 나이까 will be used for questions. So what this is it's similar to the nida and the nika endings. In fact, it's the same thing as the modern day nika and nida endings. It's the same thing as the modern day nida and nika endings, but you'll see them used as naida, naika. So instead of saying hamnida, hamnika, you'll see ha. Remember, this is just attaching this. Verb stem plus this. There is no p-up. There's nothing else attached like when you make nida or nika. Instead of hamnida, it's not hamnaida, it's ha-naida. Ha-naika. That's it. Verb stem plus naida or naika. That's pretty much all it is. That's all you need to know. I'll do an example of this in a second. But one more thing I also wanted to explain. So this is basically nida nika, but let's do one more that's similar to this. This is one that you'll often see as well. Okay, let me just add. Got there. Okay. So I said you can do verb stem plus naida or verb stem plus naika. You'll also see verb stem plus 사옵니다 or 사옵니까. The way it works is if you have a verb stem that ends with a consonant, you'll attach 사옵니다 or 사옵니까 in a question. And if the verb stem ends with a vowel, you'll simply attach 옵니다 or 옵니까. So the way it conjugates is the exact same as the naida or the naika form, just by adding the sa. This is again the same meaning as saying nida or nika or naida or naika. However, this one is a humble version. So this is more of a humble way of saying I do something. I do that, whatever, or do you do this? This is a way of making yourself humble when you're saying something, when you're speaking something. Just a much more polite way of speaking. So I'll even say, keep it simple. Maybe make it simpler, just polite. So to keep things simple, this is a much more polite way of speaking, but it has the same meaning as saying naida or naika, but there is the additional conjugation where you have to pay attention to whether it ends in a consonant or a vowel, and if it ends in a consonant, you also have to add sa here. Okay, so let's do an example sentence now. And those forms you'll see in the Bible as well. This marker, I've only used this marker now. This is the first time I've used it in a live stream because I threw the other one away. It's already like streaking. Okay, so now let's do our sentence with the queen. Chungjeon mama. So I said that mama is used for any sort of royal member or palace member. So in this case, Chungjeon mama, as in like mama, your majesty. In this case, Chungjeon mama is the queen. So this is how you'd refer to the queen, how you could refer to the queen. Chungjeon mama. Gichim. Gichim is a cough. Something that you definitely do not want to be doing these recent days, at least not in public. Gichim ha shon naika. I'll put the question mark there. So queen, hast thou coughed? Did you cough, queen? So you're sitting in the royal court. Everyone's got a mask on except the queen, right? And the queen coughs. She shouldn't do that. We have to make sure to do social distancing, cover your mouth. I don't know what she was doing not wearing a mask. But anyway, Chungjeon mama, kichim hashon naika. Didst thou cough? Your majesty, the queen, like that. Chungjeon mama, kichim hashon naika. Did you cough, queen? Now this would be equivalent in modern day Korean to just saying sorry, it's kind of going down. 기침 하셨습니까? 기침 하셨습니까? 기침 하셨나이까? Same meaning, older style. Okay. Let's erase this. Okay, we've got 3 more grammar forms to go that are really useful. Okay, this next one is for making requests. And the way you do is you take an action, action verb stem, and you attach op, so, so. Op, so, so. The op part. You guys might have seen this op, 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 op. This op is something that makes it extra respectful. And we just saw that with the previous form. We had naida, naika, and we had op, naida, or omnida, and omnika. This op makes it extra respectful. You might also see just so by itself, but we won't be covering that today. Okay, so op so is for making a respectful request. This would be similar to saying like please. And in modern day Korean, this would be like saying 주세요, 주세요, like that. Attaching it to a verb. This would be like attaching 주세요 to a verb in modern Korean. So action verb stem plus 옵소서. And you'll hear this used a lot in dramas. So let's do an example of that. Again, it's a respectful request. So kind of like, it's a respectful request. So it's kind of like saying please. And you can ask someone to do whatever the action verb is. So let's do an example of that. Oh my goodness. This eraser is trash. I just pulled it out. Just on Thursday, I took it out. It's already like, okay. So this example, let's do, okay, 신에게. Do you guys remember what 신 means? I want you guys to translate this sentence. If you can. This is for like intermediates to try to translate. Okay. 신에게 맡겨 주시옵소서. 신에게 맡겨 주시옵소서. 신에게 맡겨 주시옵소서. Okay, what does this mean? We did talk about this word. We did talk about this form. You might not know makida. So let's see. I'll give you guys a second to see if anyone can translate it. Stefano already got it. Okay, Stefano Young is our winner for today. Got it really fast. Okay. Shin. We learned that one of the words for saying me is shin. Now, shin means like liege. So that's like saying, I am your servant. And this will be used by a government official toward royalty. So towards someone in the royal house or towards someone in the royal court or the royal family. So this would be like saying, I am your servant. Me. So to me, to a king or to probably not a king, to a someone who is royalty. So this would be me to someone who's royalty. Makida is to entrust, or we would just say to leave. So please, 맡겨주시다, 맡겨주시옵소서. Please leave it to me. Leave that to me. I'm your leash. I don't even know how we'd say that in modern day Korean. Please leave it to me. 저에게 맡겨주세요 would be a regular Korean way, modern Korean. I'm not even sure how we'd say that in English is what I was trying to say. I'm not even sure what we'd say in English. Just please leave it to me. 신에게 맡겨주시옵소서. Or modern style, 저에게 맡겨주세요. 신에게 맡겨주시옵소서. Please leave it to me. I am your servant. I will take care of it. 신에게 맡겨주시옵소서. Like that. Okay. And we have two more forms. The next one is another command. This one's kind of a fun command. That is 거라. 거라. Now, 거라 is a 반말 form. Okay, let me just write this. Let me just get a drink of water for real quick. Okay. Fortunately, they still have plenty of bottled water. I just utilized a ancient Joseon Dynasty vending machine over there. It only accepts gold coins though, so that's a bit inconvenient. But okay, 거라. You take an action verb stem and you attach 거라, and this makes a command that is in 반말. So in modern Korean, this would be similar to the ra ending, but not just the regular ra ending. This would be like saying 해라, 가라, 먹어라. It's this ra, o-ra ending. It's not the regular la ending that you'd stick at the end. So this would be equivalent to telling someone to do it like this. So it's not an especially harsh form, but it's 반말. So it's a casual way of just throwing out a command. Do that. Do that. 해라. 하거라. 하거라. Do something. So let's do an example of that. Oh no. I don't know if this marker's gonna even make it through today. It's already like suffering. Okay. 세자. So what is... Actually, I'm going to write this down. You guys see if you can translate this. Okay. Guys, see if you can translate this. Good luck. We did learn this word, 세자. 그 입. That 입. 다물거라. 세자는 그 입 다물거라. Is Nikki Billy his 중전 mama? My Majesty. 중전 mama. Okay. My brain has abs now. Nice. Well, we did lose about half of our participants after the first 30 minutes. I'm not too surprised. I knew that this lesson has a lot of, although it's for everyone, the people who are going to get the most out of it are obviously going to be intermediates or advanced students. This Joseon Dynasty water isn't too bad though. I mean, despite no filtration systems, and it's pretty good. I like it. Okay. Okay, I was seeing if anyone can translate it. Can anyone translate this? Yes, Nika. I'm okay. Yes, and Daniel Elise. Shut your mouth, Crown Prince. Yes, not crowned prince. He's not the crowned prince yet, but the crown prince. Yes. So shut your mouth, crown prince. Yes. 입을 다물다. 다물다 means to shut 입, your mouth. So it's a very strong way of saying be quiet, shut up. But it's shut your mouth. So shut that mouth. Crown prince, shut your mouth. Like that. 세자는 그 입 다물거라. Shut your mouth, crown prince. So this is what maybe an aristocrat would say to the crown prince, and he doesn't like the crown prince, and he doesn't want him to be the king. 세자는 그 입 다물거라. Like that. 세자는 그 입 다물거라. And be like this. And then the seja would be like, with this stoic expression. Be like completely serious and then not really care. Because he's too cool for that. And he knows that he's getting paid more money to be in the drama anyway than the Yangban actor. So he doesn't really care. Okay. And our last form for today is another really common one that you might hear. I was going to remove it, but I thought, it's useful enough. Let's teach it. That is, take an action verb stem, just like before, and you will attach ke. And then optionally, na. So you might see it as ke or kena. It's the same thing pretty much. This is also 반말. This is also a casual form that is used for making requests. So this is for making a request. It's not a respectful request like 옵소서, and it's not a strong command like 거라. It's more of a request, like kind of like a 반말 way of saying please. Like, hey, could you do that, please? Kind of like that. It's not a begging, it's not a very formal way, but it's like, hey, please do that. Take care of that for me. That's sort of a request. So not a command, you're not saying do it, but you're saying, hey, could you do it? And it's only casual. If you add na, it makes it a bit more friendly sounding, a bit more intimate. Now I say intimate, that's just the word they use for people have a close relationship. So intimate means that it would be used between people with any sort of close relationship, guys or girls. So you could say ke or ke na if you want to be a little bit more friendly sounding. And it's a way to make a polite, it's not a polite, and it's a way to make a request using 반말. So hey, do something. So let's do an example of this. Actually, okay, you guys, there's no way I could have you guys translate this from English. Maybe you can translate this from Korean though. This is going to be our hardest sentence for today. So maybe you guys can translate this from Korean. Just write that a little bit nicer. Okay, this is really just for advanced learners. I'll say that. Although we did learn these words today, there are some grammar forms that you probably wouldn't know unless you're already intermediate. Like 모셔오다. 모셔오다 means to get someone and bring them here. 모셔오다 is to bring. It's a polite way of saying to bring someone. Also is quickly. Hurry up. Okay, that's all I'm going to tell you though. The rest of the words we did learn today. So how would we translate this one? I'm going to give you guys 1 minute to translate it. So good luck. And I'll check the chat while you guys are translating it. You fast go husband. Yes, perfect sentence, Moon TD. Perfect sentence. Exactly. I could not have translated it better myself. That's how it'll appear in the Vicky drama mode. It's going to say, you fast go husband. No punctuation, 2 lines. It'll actually be 2 lines just like that. That's how we're going to do it. Okay. Remember, it's 나리와 도련님. 나리와 도련님. So it's and. Some 나리 and the 도련님. I'll give other people a chat. No, just do it. Just post it. Okay, people getting kind of close. Some kind of close. Danielle Elise is the closest. Yeah. Not bad. Not bad, Danielle Elise. Okay, Nika, go ahead before I give the answer. I want to buy another of these, but I don't have an extra gold coin. So I'll throw it over there. There are no trash cans in the Joseon Dynasty. You just got to throw it on the throw it on the floor and wait for someone to pick it up later. Go ahead and bring Nadia and the master. Okay. For your husband. Okay. Well, it doesn't have to be your husband. Remember I said that Nadi is a way of referring to anyone like your honor. Now, it could be used to a husband, but it doesn't have to be a husband. Everyone's translating it. I notice everyone's translating it as husband. I think some people might have copied someone else's answer and translated it as husband. No, it could be anything. But it could be the prince. It could be a prince. It could be just someone's master. So, 자네는, you. Actually, let me read it one more time. 자네는 어서 가서 나리와 도련님을 모셔오게나. 자네는, you. Also, hurry or quickly. 가서, go, and 나리와 도련님. Master and 도련님, young master. So, the master and the young master. So, your master and the young master. 도련님을 모셔오게나. Requesting that you bring 모셔오다. Get them and bring the 나리 and 도련님. So, you go quickly and bring the master and the young master. Now, obviously, I made this sentence a bit tricky on purpose to translate just because I wanted to throw in some of the words we've used. But yeah, that's what it means. 자네는 어서 가서 나리와 도련님을 모셔오게나. So you could hear this as a line in a Korean drama, in a historical drama. It would fit right in. 자네는 어서 가서 나리와 도련님을 모셔오게나. Hurry up, you hurry up and bring the master and the young master. Whew. Okay. That was a long lesson. That was a long 95-minute lesson for today. But we're done. We've now learned 100% of everything in Korean. You guys are masters. You can not only watch all historical dramas now, but you could also star in a historical drama. I know you can do it. So that ends today's lesson. So that's all we're going to be doing today. But I will take questions for about 10 minutes. This marker just doesn't, just keeps spreading the ink everywhere. Okay, is that good? Maybe I'll just switch. Maybe I'm just going to give up and switch to microfiber cloth or something. Okay. Okay, I got 10 more minutes. I'm going to do questions. Okay, feel free to ask. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that lesson. I don't know how often we're going to be doing these sort of lessons. This was the first time I've ever done a lesson like this. So if this gets a lot of watches, if lots of people watch it and share it, and if it gets to be a popular lesson, then of course I can do more kind of goofy lessons like this where we don't only do a grammar form, but we kind of do like topics. So today's was specifically Korean historical drama style Korean. If you guys really like it, we could do something else. Like maybe there's like, oh, I want to learn, travel phrases or whatever. Any other sort of topic is open to do. We just have to make sure if people like it first, because it does take a lot of extra work compared to a regular lesson, which I can write in 4 to 6 hours. This one took all day and some extra days of research before I actually wrote it. That sounded like it's craftsmanship, okay? It's the Korean craftsmanship and hard work that just, it transcends time. They made good doors, okay? All right. Hey, Cheryl, thanks. That's nice of you, Cheryl. Cheryl. Thank you for the donation, Cheryl. Something like that. Cool. Thank you. Okay, if you guys have any questions, now is the time. For just about 5 or so minutes, I can take questions. Saguk Part 2. Well, believe it or not, I actually had a lot more stuff prepared today than what I was able to cover in the live stream. So for today's live stream, I cut out a lot of stuff to make it fit within just an hour and a half. I tried to make it fit in an hour, but I knew that wouldn't be possible. So I said, okay, an hour and a half. But originally it was about 2 hours and 15 minutes worth of material that I cut down because I realized, well, yeah, I could teach them this form and this form and this form, but I felt like after an hour, it will just start to drag on because it's kind of like a fun topic. Hey, Lynn, thank you. Lynn B. Wait, did I leave the stars on? Okay, well, they're back on now. Thank you. I recently learned the phrase 먼저 something부터 해야 돼요. You would use a noun before that. So you could use the noun form of the verb if you want, but it would typically be a noun itself because 하다, 해야 돼요. 하다 is the verb. So you don't need to use a nominalization form. You just use a noun. Or if there's a noun form of a verb that's used with the form, to keep things simple, I'll just say use a noun. Use a regular noun. So 밥부터 먹어야 돼요. So it would be 밥 먹다. Or if it's 공부하다, it would be 공부부터 해야 돼요. Whatever verb matches that noun is what you'd use. But it wouldn't be nominalization because you're already using 하다. Stefano, 하오나, Anita. Yeah, those are some other grammar forms that I would have cut from today's lesson because there is a lot of grammar forms. Some of the grammar forms, though, people are asking about are actually not really archaic. They're still used. So if there was a grammar form that you didn't see mentioned in this lesson, it might actually just be a modern grammar form that's still used that's not really archaic. I mean, of course, originally archaic, but that's not considered old. Like the nya ending is still a regular form you'll hear today. Yeah, urida is modern day as well. It's not used in a lot of situations, but I hope that it will be. I pray it will be. I believe it will be. That sort of meaning. It's a future tense, hoping or wishing future tense ending, and it's still used today. So it could be used in archaic grammar as well, but it's still used today, though not as much, not very commonly today. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Again, thank you to the people who donated for this lesson too. Komarova, Grandpa Mikey, our new members, Che Yongjun and Aliro, as well as Jorn, Grant, Dims, Cheryl, and Lynn. And I will see you guys again next time. Make sure to vote on Monday. Vote tomorrow when I put the new poll for what you can get. I think there's 2 more options. And I'll see you guys again next time. Thanks for coming. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. How do I get out of here though? Oh, I wonder if this thing lets me go back. Let me give it a try. Just lay it over here. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. Oh, I'm glad this thing works. It could have been trapped in some weird place. Anyway, so yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. See you guys later. Bye.